Solar cell manufacturing skyrockets worldwide. California institutes some new rules to increase the transparency of time of use pricing in the utility electric market, and a new electric vehicle comes on the market. I'm Jay Warmke with Blue Rock Station, and this is the news from the solar industry for the week of October 17th. Now, in kind of a good news, bad news situation, a recent report from Clean Energy Associates has noted that solar cell production has grown about 20% just in the last quarter of 2022 alone. Now, they are projecting that the solar cell marketplace will grow, that the production will grow by about 50% over the coming 3 years. Well, that's the good news. Now, the bad news is most of this production is still occurring in China. China is responsible for the production of about 79% of all of the polysilicon. That's the raw materials that are used to make solar cells. They're also responsible for about 97% of the world's production of silicon wafers. Those are the little slices of polysilicon that they use to make the cells. Then they're responsible for about 85% of all of the solar cell production, where they've impregnated them with the wires and the like. And then, of course, the modules, they're still responsible for quite a large share of the solar modules, although much of that is moving overseas in large response to the Inflation Reduction Act here in the United States, but also some of the supply chain disruptions for other nations. Everybody's trying to bring some of that production in-house. However, if the raw materials for these panels are still manufactured in China, supply chain issues will still be a problem. Okay, California Energy Commission has announced that they're setting new rules for the transparency of time of use pricing from the utilities to the consumers. And what they're wanting to do is, first off, develop pricing that is more granular. Typically, a utility will set 3 price levels. There's peak demand pricing, then there's sort of the shoulder pricing, and then the lowest would be at the lowest end pricing demand. They're wanting these prices to be set up at least hourly, so that the prices are going to be very, very fluid in the future in California. They also want there to be a public database in which anyone can research and see what the pricing will be in any particular jurisdiction for any utility. And they want these utilities to go out with consumer education products to try and make everybody aware of just how their electricity is being priced. The Chevy has announced a partnership with SunPower that their new electric vehicle, the Silverado, will be bidirectional. In other words, you will be able to hook up through the charging station and use the power from the vehicle to service the loads within your house. Let's say the power goes out, you hook up through your charging station, and now you have power that's being drawn from the pickup truck, in this case the Silverado, to run your home. Now, this truck has a 400-mile range, and it uses a 200 kilowatt-hour battery. Now, that is a huge battery. Just to give you a sense of perspective, most battery backup systems for solar arrays are still at the 10, 12, 13 kilowatt-hour sizing. So a 200 kilowatt-hour battery would provide enough energy for a typical suburban home with no cutbacks at all, running everything they always run. It would supply power for about a week in the case of an electrical outage from the grid. The pricing on this is set to start at around $40,000, although we may see similar to the Lightning, where availability, there was a lot of dealer markups and the like, and it will max out somewhere around $107,000 if you buy something with all the bells and whistles. These vehicles will have 10 outlets, so you can take them on the road. If you're construction, you can be running power equipment from it. Camping, you could run. So the inverter is contained within the vehicle, so you can get AC power directly from the vehicle. And not only is the bidirectional charger going to allow for vehicle to home or vehicle to grid, But it is they're announcing that you can actually go vehicle to vehicle. So if you have another electric vehicle that's, lost its charge, I guess you're jump starting electric vehicles from one vehicle to the other. There is a new technology out there in the utility scale storage world. This is nickel hydrogen batteries. Now, these nickel hydrogen batteries are sort of a hybrid version, a cross between nickel cadmium, which have been around for a while, and hydrogen fuel cells. So they use hydrogen that's under pressure as part of the anode or the cathode, not really sure. But Venue has announced that they are going to be warranting these for 20 years, these batteries. So they're very, very stable. In fact, some of the advantages of this technology and why many utilities are looking at this as a possible source for large utility scale solar or storage is that they do have a long life. These are expected to last about 30 years without significant degrading. They are not temperature sensitive. They can run through a whole wide range, all the way from minus 40 degrees Celsius to positive 60 degrees Celsius, quite warm. And they're lightweight. They have about the same energy density as lithium ion, and they're maintenance free. So that's good, and they tolerate quite a lot of abuse. Now, the downside is that they are very expensive. In fact, most of their use has been limited to aerospace applications like the Hubble telescope for power, and they do have a tendency to self-discharge. So if left without being used, they will drain down, lose their charge by themselves. So those are the downsides, but it's a technology to keep an eye on. And that is the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.